Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to our agenda here at the Innovation Stage at EMO 2025 in Hanover. I'm especially excited that we will stick to our main topic that has been accompanying us for the entire week, that's artificial intelligence. And looking at the next topic of the next presentation, it must know that it is one of the most important topics for any industry, and that's quality. And to be honest, many people have already thought about how can we use AI for quality assurance, but impressive solutions we have not really seen so far, and that's what we're going to change now. We have a great company with us who came up with an AI co-pilot for quality assurance, and it comes with main efficiency gains for documentation and inspections. And I believe in this. I would like to welcome Ulrich Kaiser, CEO of Qualiwise GmbH. Ulrich, the stage is yours. Right, hello everybody. I'm Ulrich Kaiser. I'm the founder and CEO of Qualiwise, and I would like to explain our AI-based co-pilot for product quality purposes. What is that? An AI-based co-pilot for product quality. It automates administrative processes in quality assurance and quality management. So the first question that comes up here. I think we have a problem with the imagery here of my slide, but my question is, what are the challenges for quality management on the one hand side for quality sensitive industries such as automotive or aerospace, that the physical and in addition to the physical parts that need to be controlled, there's a lot of documentation that also needs to be tested and monitored. PPAP framework and automotive with 18 types of documents, and all of them need to be checked. Our clients report to us that they have 30 to 60% use and time for this documentation and this assurance, and there's an increasing tendency. The cycle times go down, variants go up, and when it comes to regulation, it's more and more the case that the Supply Chain Due Diligence Act will come with new requirements for documentation for the companies. In the middle here is the human being. The quality team is usually dealing with too little employees. The workload is too high, and oftentimes they solve that problem by means of spot checks. They look at the areas with the highest risks, but oftentimes quality problems are simply not detected, and that comes with high costs. Here you can see an example here with a profit margin of 8%, for example. Let's imagine in aerospace 2.1% would be lost for process costs. And at the end of the day, there's also that department for the procurement costs. That's minus 0.7%. When a supplier was chosen, it's often very hard to change that afterwards. Many of you will know what I'm talking about here. Now here the question comes in, what are we doing in order to solve that problem? At Qualiwise, we built the AI co-pilot for the product world. It supports you by means of autonomously done checks and inspections. It reads through the quality documents and It can check these documents within the documents, but also across the documents. For material documentation, for example, it can look at the material requirement within the technical drawing. It can then look at the material certificate from the steel requirements. Then it can compare the two and then maybe detect a problem. This can also be applied to measurement data where this cross-documental check is needed. Our solution does this in an automated way, so it's scalable. So we can get rid of the spot checks. We can roll this out across all of the article numbers. In large companies, that's tens of thousands of article numbers. One last thing, because we can detect that much context and quality types, our system can also learn and work proactively. It can detect early for errors that in the past have happened regularly, and that is often something today that is failing because these old systems are not revised. Our solution comes in here, and it is a systemized approach to detect errors before they actually occur. Now, I would like to give you an example. Here you can see a simple technical drawing that our AI bot reads, and it can also interpret the data. If we have manufacturing data that's read out, we have safety critical measurements that are an automatic part of the test and control plan. The AI comes in and reads that information and takes it on board. We can also identify the title of the drawing, detect revisions of the documents. That's often a source for errors. During manufacturing, the new version, the new update was not spread to every machine. Our solution comes in here. It can detect the changes by comparing two versions, and it can then suggest a new approach. Right. The last thing here is the notes agent, the agent for remarks from a technical drawing such as this is often very rich in information, and there's often remarks, and this information can also be taken out and taken on board by our AI cobot. Now, what does our product portfolio look like if we can now read through all of these documents? The technology is not working right now. Oh, it's back. Right, let's start with quality inspection. In many companies, there's often still the quality control is often done manually. Still, you would believe that conveyor technology does the whole thing. There's a camera installed and it detects errors. But in fact, there's many smaller batch sizes that have to work without a big camera, and oftentimes there's manual measurements, and that's where we come in. We offer a process that is a seamless support from the test plan development on the basis of the image, down to the workshop, down to the actual production process, and then at the end, if all of the data is collected, I get a measurement protocol by only pressing a button in the required order, and that renders me safe for any audits, and I can always have access to the right documents at the right time. The next step is the document inspection, as I mentioned, measurement authorizations, welding authorizations. All of these documents can be analyzed automatically with our cobot. This is the deviation management, the topic of 8D, and that you may have heard of that. When it comes to suppliers, there's a non-conformity report that is created. The client requires an 8D. I can pre-test that with my solution and then react accordingly. Right, by means of that, in total, for the non-conformity costs, I have a major reduction. I have earlier detection, and thereby I also get the chance for the choice of my suppliers to be a lot more flexible, because I'm a lot more close to the quality assurance. Now I would like to give you an insight into what this looks like in real life. And in order to do so, as a first example, let's look at quality control, the size accuracy control. Now, this is an example here. Our solution is analyzing the technical drawing here, and the different product manufacturing information is read automatically. The data is taken out. You can see the measurements here. You can have all sorts of tolerances. As a manual user, I then have the opportunity through a point-and-click process. I can take the different measurements with explicit tolerances. For other measurements, it will take the general measurement that is already embedded in the system, and it is then going to transfer the measurements in the right way. I can partly automate this process as well by means of using prompts. Some of you might know this from your GPT. I can prompt GPT to do something, and I can do the exact same thing with my drawing here. So, for example, I say, please adapt all of the boreholes, all of the threads with a tolerance under 0.1, and transfer them into my test plan. So the test plan creation is then automated. Half of it is automated, so the human is still in the loop, but it is a lot more efficient when it comes to these administrative tasks. Now, in addition to these measurement accuracy, we also offer the possibility of documenting photos and videos. That's a new level. Everything that wasn't possible when using paper. So I can add picture to non-conformity or show how things are delivered, how things are packaged. And you can use your mobile phone or your tablet for that. Right, here we are in the detection of measurement data. The test plan phase is completed. I'm on the shop floor. I use my tablet. I do measurements, and I can clearly see here what are my measurements. I am taken through this process step by step. At the top, you can see my actual my target measurement, and I can type it in. I can use Bluetooth data, or I can even just speak to the device. And the spoken word is then transcribed into the system without putting down my measurement device. In the end, when everything is done, the test is done. at just pressing a button, I can get the measurement protocol, and it is directly attached to the entire order. Of course, I can also add my brand, logo, and taking this back to the beginning, all of those administrative tasks, the test plan, all of the paper, all of that is cut out of the process, and the only thing that's left for me is the actual measurement process, and I think that will always stay because that will not be automated. This is my last slide. The question here is, what is the benefit? Of course, there are individual answers for any industry. There are different times used for specific tasks. This is an example from the company named Jebens. They are a plant manufacturer supplier from Stuttgart. They have large parts, lots of different measurements, lots of different batch sizes. And it takes 2 hours to do a test plan there, 3 hours for a measurement, 1 hour for reporting and more administrative work. We can reduce these times to half an hour for the test planning. We can also reduce that even more, and for implementation we're at 2 hours, and the third step in the top can be cut out entirely for Jebens. So there are major savings. The time we were able to divide the time, reduce that by more than half. And of course, this is very efficient for all of the measurement over an entire year in all of the different locations for a company. This was a short overview of what we do at Qualiwise. If you are interested, if you want to get more details, scan the QR code, make an appointment with me, and I can give you a live demo. Thank you very much. Great. It was very interesting, and I really loved your headlines. No, let's stick with the content of your presentation. It was really good. What I really like about this solution, independent of the quality assurance benefit, I always like to see solutions that really come with a clear business case. If we only take the time saving that you showed us on your last slide, you can see that it's really worth it. There are so many use cases for this. 2 questions from the audience. How long does it take for you to come into a company and introduce or implement your software? Well, we are a cloud solution. We run on IBS in Frankfurt in our private network. That means that the data is safe. The data is not going to third service providers, third parties. A very comprehensive IT security firm recently tested that and certified that. It is a cloud solution, despite the fact that we're a cloud solution, we're pretty fast. So if a client approaches us and says we want to start tomorrow, we can do that. Usually we do that with a rather small team. We choose a small scope, such as the prototype business, for example. It is made for shop floor users, especially for the execution. It is very simple to use. There used to be 16,000 cells in an Excel spreadsheet. That is what we were able to reduce to one information at a time. It is a step-by-step process, very simple. Within 2 hours, the first users can already be trained and start going. Sensational. There's a question on your various locations at a client. What does that implementation look like? Well, larger clients, of course, have many locations. They would have offices in various locations. Because we are a cloud solution, every user gets a login. We don't have a user model, as it were. When it comes to the pricing, it is a location model. So all of the employees in one location can have access to the solution. If it is then spread out to more locations, that can be done as well quite quickly, and then all of the employees can have access. But it's not limited to locations, really. What we can do is also embed suppliers here and take them on board. The suppliers would get an account, and orders will be visible for them, their orders only, of course. But then, for example, for a new supplier, I could present with a new test plan, and I would like specific measurements to be tested. Then the suppliers can get the solutions with the order of a paying client and use them for free, can insert their reports directly, and then as a client I get a clean and simple document that is linked to the order, and I don't have to archive that manually. And for the suppliers that makes a lot of sense, because oftentimes we see in tier 2, tier 3 suppliers that they work with paper, still work with paper and pen, and they through this they're inspired to slim down their processes. You've mentioned the supply chain. I think that's very exciting when it comes to quality assurance and testing. Are they connected to the supply chain? For me as an OEM, that would be very interesting. So the entire supply chain has the data. Yes, that's correct. But the suppliers, of course, need to agree to that. Yes, of course, suppliers need to agree. But, as I said, their process, the supplier's process, that is oftentimes still rather old. Of course, there's different suppliers. Some of them are still already very modern. But the deeper you go down in the chain, the more elementary it gets. And we can sort of, take them up 1 or 2 steps up in the chain. And in our experience, suppliers really like that. And that is exactly when this happens, though. There's quality transparency along the entire supply chain, along 1 or 2 or even more steps. And that's where we really want to go with the different Manufacturing X, Catena X tools. And there's a seamless link here, so that we're able to post-work these things, go back along the chain and find out where faults were made, mistakes were made. Thank you very much. I am convinced. Qualiwise, and I wish you a lot of success. Thank you very much.